Oh.
All right, you're live.
Do we have an agenda?
Yes, we do.
We do.
You should have a in your pile there somewhere.
I don't see one here, but she emailed it. I don't have one in my stack of papers.
Neither. So let me see if it's in the email that you sent.
It is in the email. It was just. Oh, okay.
I don't need it. If it's in here, I don't need it. I can just follow from this. I got it.
Got it? Okay. It's an easy one tonight, so. All right. Need a motion to open the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No visitors? We have a full quorum? We have one alternate.
No.
That's Stacy's paperwork.
Not that part. The end's paperwork.
It's been a whole while.
All right, on the agenda tonight, since not everybody has one, I'm sorry, I thought we did, but anyways, there's a Shoreland Zoning Ordinance, which is that nice, thick, fat package that's sitting on your table. Jen sent that out in an email. I trust everybody's got a copy of that. The author that made a lot of the changes is sitting over there behind the computer. What we'd like to do this evening is go through his changes and make any corrections or alterations that we need to. And he can type them in directly as we're doing that. Hopefully by the end of tonight we have a somewhat final draft. Basically, from what I could see that he did, he took the new 1000 and incorporated what we had originally to make one document. In your pile, you'll find a revision history sheet. That's just a rough listing of all the changes that are listed in there. When you get your copy, the hard copy, thick one, you don't have the red in there, unfortunately. I copied it black and I should have done it in color. Sorry about that. The other couple things we'll be looking at tonight is the minutes and doing the review of the fact finders that we had, the Caldwells and the Furbishes. And then you asked me about the planning board rules. I got a answer back from Maine Municipal. One of the answers they gave me was a example of Gorham's planning board rules, which is a big help. I think it's everything we want. We just need to tweak it to make it more personal for us. But it basically covers how to run a meeting. It saves us a lot of work.
Yes, agreed.
So, what I'd like to have you do first is take a look at the Shoreland Zoning, where we have the author here, and dig through that.
You know, this is only a 2-hour meeting.
Hey. Actually, it's not too bad. Not too bad.
Is this the same thing that you emailed us?
Yes. Only thing your email has a red in it. It's might make
That's
it
what I'm
easier.
going to use.
That's what will make it easier. QRNS are missing on the table of contents page.
So that was what I was also going to say is the table of contents does it help us kind of work our way just right through the whole thing?
Let's go page by page.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So the table of contents, I just want to say is I did not, because I don't know how it's all going to work out. I did not redo the table of contents as well as the page numbers, because I would do that once I have a final version, so I know how it's all going to line up by page number, and I can. So that's also why those sections. I think those are new sections that were added. That's why those aren't in there.
Okay.
So, but I have done nothing with the table of contents, so I have to.
But you got a star there someplace that reminds you that needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fine.
And then. So then I guess the first thing would be on the first change was on number 3, which is Article 3 or whatever, page 1, I believe.
It'll be page 7 on the sheets that we have.
Okay. Which is applicability, number 3, applicability, is that what you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The only comment I have in that particular one myself is there's a normal high water line of any great pond or river. There's an oar hanging there.
Where's this?
Applicability?
Any great pond or river? Yeah, or upland edge of freshwater.
Do we really need that oar hanging out there?
That's what it has in here, and it means the next item. It's that or that.
Okay.
So versus and. So that means it's one of the two things. And then basically the note, they don't have red, they have black.
It's all black, unfortunately. Yeah.
So there'll be a few notes that are deleted. So just to give you a background, so the DEP's Chapter 1000 is their guidelines for all the towns. Some of the notes they put in here were actually for the planning board when you're putting this together to give you some information. They weren't meant to be put in the ordinance. It was a note, which is why it was separated out as a note. So most of the notes I deleted, but there was actually a couple that I thought gave some good information to like residents that might be reading this. So it gave like a little additional information that might be helpful to people. So those actually I kept in. But that's why this one was deleted. In 4, under repeal of municipal timber harvesting regulation. You can see it was just a few, it was item 3 versus column 3, item 4.
Back up just 1 second, please. Oh, you're in 4, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Under section 14, table of land uses, it said column versus item 3. So those are just some minor changes there.
Can you back up into the paragraph 4?
Yeah.
Almost to the last sentence, it says any application for a permit submitted to the municipality.
Yep.
You roll that into that paragraph, and it's a separate paragraph in the 4,000, in the 1,000 meeting. It's a sub-paragraph.
Any application for a permit submitted?
Right there.
Okay.
Can you break that up?
Yep. Do I indent it too? Oops, nope, I don't like that.
Yeah, if you can. That's how it was in theirs.
We don't, I'm looking at this and I have no clue what we're doing because I've never seen chapter 1000.
You're looking at it.
Okay, well, this is really tough. I don't know if I'll have anything to contribute because I don't know what.
Basically, he took 1,000
Yeah.
and then he chopped out pieces out of it,
Okay.
which doesn't apply to our locality.
Okay.
And what I did is I highlighted the ones that are questionable. And we'll bring them up and we'll discuss those as we go through.
Okay.
Okay. I did do the page to page, word for word review.
I know you did, I saw your email, and I apologize, I wasn't doing
No,
it.
no, it took a lot of hours.
I can imagine.
Okay, I got that done.
And then after I did it, found out that you already done it too, so it's like, oh.
So that type of thing, I'm not highlighting in red or anything, just because it's more of a formatting thing.
So what's this column item change thing on
So
number
it-
2 there?
It refers to, so, section 4, table of land uses. So if you go to, table of land uses, which I think is,
That chart we had, it looks like this.
that table that's in here,
Oh, so you changed some words and.
that's what it's, well, so it's talking about here, so here's item 4. So these are all numbered.
Mhm.
Versus column 4, because actually if you did columns, it would be 1, 2, 3.
Oh, gotcha, okay, I see
so
what you're
it's
saying.
item, so it's item 4,
Oh, okay, I see
timber
what you're saying.
harvesting, you follow?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't know, is that what it actually has in here too? Did it have item or column in here? I believe it had. That was. Pure municipal.
I think you pulled that one out of the current shoreline zoning.
You need that over closer.
Yeah, right, so. One thing about, we should touch on this right now, timber harvesting, there's 2 ways that we can handle that. We can become responsible for all timber harvesting and make sure we abide by all the state rules and requirements, or we can turn it over to the state and they will monitor that, and we don't have to have any part of that. Well, that's basically the way it was, and that's the way it's left, and I believe that's why he left it written up the way it is.
Right.
We turned it all right to the state's practices. And that was done prior to this board.
That's correct, yep.
Section 14, that came out of the original ordinance, that's not part of the 1,000.
Okay.
But you are required to put that information in there later on. In the 1,000 manual, you need to put that back in there, so that's why you did do that.
And you see section 15(0) in its entirety, right?
Yeah.
That was actually a reason, but yet section 15, when we get to it, was still in there. So you'll see when I get to it, I just deleted the whole thing and put down that it was repealed.
I have a question.
Yes.
12B2 informational note, which is number 3 on the revised. I only have 12AA. And then the next page is 12C. Is anybody else with me there? Right?
Where are you?
12, I've got 12AA right there at the bottom. And the next page is 12C.
Okay, let's wait till we get there, but it should be B.
Okay. I was just making sure I
Was
was
this from yours then? Was this here from yours? Because I have
12B.
A and B.
Oh.
Yeah, the red line one was A and B.
Oh.
Right.
No, actually, the red line on it's A.
Yeah, this one. I printed this one from
Yeah,
Jen.
that's cute.
Yeah,
That is
I
cute.
printed that one from Jen.
Yeah.
So the word general, that should be B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
general
that's
should be B. I mean, that's, yeah.
Mine says A too, and I didn't even notice it, cause I saw the first day.
Yeah, so 12 is non-conformist, purpose A is B, and I think A is purpose, B is general.
Okay.
And then
Just
you have
wanted to
1
make
and
sure.
2, which is transfer of ownership and repair and maintenance.
Mhm.
Then there was a note that got deleted, so that was one of those notes.
Mhm.
And then C, non-conforming structures. And you'll actually see a bunch of stuff was added in here. I think this is all the sections that were missing. Remember those all the sections that were
Oh, I
missing?
remember.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
this is where it's 1,000 square feet or 30% larger than the footprint that existed on January 1, 1989. So this is adding the 30% rule.
Oh Lord.
And I had a brief conversation with a couple of people, but so I mean, when we used just 1,000 square feet rather than or 30%, that was considered more restrictive, which we can be if we want to be, but as I mentioned before, is that we really should have some rationale for being more restrictive than what the state is telling us to do. And when it comes to zoning, more restrictive normally should have a comprehensive plan that backs it, because that gives you that legal framework that helps in a challenge. But we don't have a comprehensive plan, so we really don't have that framework. So just following the chapter 1000, which is kind of what's more or less mandated by DEP, makes sense. So that's why that's, so that was the other reason why really everything in this chapter 1000 is what I put in, and I changed it. And if it some of it in here may have been a little different, and that may have been because they tried to be more restrictive, but I went back to whatever's in this chapter 1000 because that's really, and I don't know about the 30% rule, whether that was intentionally left out or if that was accidentally left out. I have no way of knowing. So.
But there's one thing about the 30% that you wanna look at, if you wanna look at on page 10, B, or B, I. The principal structure may not be expanded to a size greater than 800 square feet or 30% larger than the footprint. It's not based on volume of the building anymore, it's based on the footprint.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was 3 levels, it doesn't matter. It's just the footprint.
The footprint, you can only expand the footprint by 30%.
Ooh.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. Because all those places are small.
Yeah.
Well, expand the footprint, so you can't expand the footprint. You can expand up, because that's not expanding the.
You can't expand the
Not any
footprint.
more than 20 feet.
Huh?
The footprint you want to expand by 30%.
Right, but the footprint is not going up is not the footprint.
That's what we're saying.
Granted, but you're still restricted to the 800 square feet going up.
Right. You have other, and you have height restrictions as well, right? Depending on how close you are, right?
To make it bigger on
Yep.
top.
Come
Didn't
on,
expand my footprint, I put pillars.
Yeah.
It wasn't footprint before.
No, it was
Volume, based on volume.
Yeah, square
Did
footage.
it say volume
It
before?
was volume in the original,
Oh yeah.
Oh, was it?
no,
I have it right here.
because if you look at our application, we make everybody figure out the volume of their property for expansion, and it's no longer valid. That was one of the things that came back from my question to Mike.
Mhm.
Based off the footprint. So it actually makes our life easier.
The maximum height of the principal structure may not be made greater than 15 feet or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater.
That's different, right? We weren't working with 15 feet
Well, it depends
before.
on how close you are to the water.
Yes.
Oh, 25 feet further up. Okay. I
We
gotcha.
didn't have a 25 foot before. We had the 50 foot, and it had to be 20 feet.
Right.
So this would almost fall into like the house that we just looked at with Caldwell's,
Yeah, because
even though
they're,
they're closer than, but that, this will at least address that.
yeah,
We didn't have anything in there before.
it's applicable to their situation.
Was listed in the original as 4 area. That's how it's worded in the
Yes,
original
footage.
4 area.
And the definition of footprints given in the definitions, and it talks about just the original footprint.
And that's what we were supposed to be following along, because that's from chapter 1000 that was accidentally omitted when that all came in.
It would have made a difference on,
Everything we've
I was
done.
gonna say, everything we've done for Shoreland, it would have made a difference on everything.
it would have. DEP is very happy that we are in the middle of rewriting all of this, so they're very supportive right now.
15 foot height. I know you guys had said that, but I was like,
Haven't got there yet.
Yeah. I
Okay.
was a little behind.
Testing it.
No problem. There's a lot here on this one, so.
So Chip fixed this and we're reviewing it, and then where's the process go from there? Because it had been tossed around that it needed to be voted on, and then it didn't need to be voted
It
on.
needs to be voted on.
So Chip fixed it, we're approving it, and then it goes on the ballot for,
No, public hearing.
You have to have a public hearing first.
But we have to have a finished copy before we get to the public hearing.
So you guys have to be, my guess is you guys have to approve, I would probably vote
right,
on your final copy. Then you hold a public hearing.
Uh-huh.
I suppose if the public hearing creates changes, you might have to do another, I don't know how that works.
No, you're right.
If that creates changes, do you guys then have to vote again and then hold another public hearing on those changes? I don't know.
We don't on the other ones if it's not major. So,
and then after the public hearing,
Then it can go on the ballot for the people to vote.
and if the people don't approve it?
I mean,
Because
if
it's
they
my
don't approve it,
understanding
the
that
old-
DEP pretty much hands you this and
So if they
says,
don't approve it,
do
the
it.
old one is in place with the orders. And the orders are, those sections that were missing are still part of it.
so
We have conditional.
one way or the other, this is happening pretty much.
Yeah, whether we're ordered by the DEP to.
Or
to
rather the
have it
voters
or-
approve it. That's my question.
Yeah. Because again, this is by this, and so, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
mean,
thought we could be more strict than the state, but not less
That's
strict.
correct.
And right
That's
now we're less strict.
not
Well,
really,
well,
because
not
this
necessarily less
is
strict, we have some, yes, in a way, because we have sections that are omitted
Uh-huh.
by accident or on purpose, whatever, but yeah, they're omitted. and
but
they
we're
can't be.
we're ordered by DEP that they not be omitted.
Right, exactly. So,
Now, if that section was just accidentally left out,
which I think is actually what happened. I don't think it was done
I
on
know,
purpose.
that's what's happening. Why does that have to be re-voted on? If it was
Because
already voted on?
I have no way of knowing that the original version that was voted on, that was submitted to the town clerk,
Mhm.
that had all the correct information, and I have no way of knowing if that's what was voted on.
We don't, no, there's no problem.
Because the official one has that part missing.
but the other thing is that this 1000 manual was last amended on January 26, 2015. So there are some amendments in here that's now in here that were.
Right, because yours was November of 15. Your last amendment on the shoreline was November of 15.
Right, which doesn't include what's here though.
But the chapter 1000 is as of what date?
January 26, 2015.
That's 11 months
Right.
later if it didn't include
Yeah,
that.
ours, yeah, but it should have.
Should have.
But it didn't.
Right.
And now I don't know whether the official version had those sections in it,
Mhm.
but I have no way of knowing.
Okay.
The official version that I have that's signed off has that section missing.
Just like ours.
So because that's what this is. I mean, everybody has. So
The official one that's missing it.
so
Gotcha.
So I believe our function is more to make sure that this version agrees with chapter 1000.
that's correct. And there's going to be some things where like it talks about sand dunes because it's for the coast. that are omitted on our end because they're not applicable.
And that's okay that those are admitted
That's
because
right,
they're
because
not
they're
applicable.
applicable to the town, that's
That makes
correct.
sense.
Okay.
That's correct.
If you look down at the bottom of page 10, that last paragraph. It says, footprint for all structures may be expanded to a size greater than, then you talked about that floor area. That's what it's crossed out. Because it's not in the latest version, but it was in ours.
What section are you in?
Page 10 will be
CI.
C,
See,
Non-conforming structure.
Non-conforming,
CC, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my page numbers don't match up with your page numbers, so.
No, I see that.
For whatever reason, so.
Everybody on page 11?
Mm-hmm.
Chip, on III, which would be still part of the non-conforming structures.
Yep.
Under III, next to the last sentence.
Oh, R equals or?
Right.
Uh,
I think the R equals was something you wanted in there.
yeah, it should be stream or upland edge, is that correct? Yep. Yeah, with it being in red, and normally red is like for an error, you don't see. Alright, that's fixed.
I did have a question under foundations.
Okay.
We had a statement in there originally that says, for the purpose of this section, the basement is not counted towards the floor area. And that was left out, and
So we had,
that is not in the new 1000 manual.
right, that's probably why.
So I did ask DEP about that.
Yep.
And he said because we're dealing with footprints now, it doesn't have
So it doesn't have to say that specifically.
to say
No,
that.
because they're not going on floor anymore. It's just the footprint, which would be
It's
the
not
size of the
floor
foundation
area.
anyway. The foundation would be the footprint.
So that was deleted, and that's why it was deleted, and I checked it and it checked out. It'll also pop up again in a few more minutes when you get there, but. Relocation, we did not have an hour, so that's all in the reconstruction replacement was not in the original. That was the one that was omitted. We needed to add in. Fattening up our ordinance.
was a big addition.
Yes, it is. It's massive.
It's kind of why they ordered us to make sure it was still there.
But it would have made it so much easier when we was doing our reviews if we'd known this stuff or had it in front of us.
Special expansion allowance is no longer.
Correct.
A lot of this change.
Yeah, immediately following that huge addition is the huge subtraction. I'm like, oh, look at all the lines through instead of under.
I know, I'm right there with that.
D, Chip.
Which one, D, yeah?
D3.
Okay.
Change of use.
Yep.
You got 12, section 12C, 4 and 5.
12C 4-5. Yeah, I see that.
Right?
I think you're right. And you can page 12C5 above. Right. I think I was changing the 4 into a 5. Yep.
Where do you see that?
Age,
Oh, you're way ahead of me. That's
Yeah,
why I don't
that's
have
right.
it yet.
Okay.
I just looked at your page and I'm like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
okay.
There's an editorial, not a.
Wow, they took out all that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not letting me do it. I actually think the 4 has a line through it, but you can't see it because of
It
the
does
part
have
of
a
the
line
4.
through it, through the 4, and then the 5 is underlined.
Right. So I think it's
I don't even know that.
because I'm trying to delete it here and I can't.
It's like a
It's a change.
strikeout, yeah.
So it's you just can't see the strikeout because it's part of the 4. So
No, as long as it's there, that's all that matters.
because I believe our other one did say 4 above.
It did.
Right.
Should have printed my color copy, huh? That would have made my
Yeah.
life
It is a
easier.
little,
Yeah, it's
I
easier
know.
with the color.
You think this is difficult? Just think about the folks back home watching this tonight. Think this.
Oh, they are
same
not
thing,
watching
this.
this tonight. There is no way.
They tuned in to see us stare at paper. They're like, yeah, nah.
We're good. I have a question.
Sure.
Number 15, deleted paragraph 13A4. Isn't that 13A4?
Yep.
Not deleted.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have that.
Oh.
I didn't do that one.
Okay, Paul. This is. Chip's like, yeah, that's 13A4. What do you want?
There's a note right after 13A4 that was deleted.
Yeah, that says deleted paragraph 13A4 and 13A5 informational note. I just wanted.
That's right. That's what Miss.
Oh, informational note. So the informational note after 4 and after 5
Are both
are deleted.
deleted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See that? All right, that makes sense. Yep. Okay, we're good.
Some of these notes were in our original ordinance. That's why I listed it.
Okay.
Because they are taken out.
Okay.
And actually, Paul, the table of contents, I'll have to repage after it gets approved. Because unless I make actually I can maybe, no, what I can do is I have to save a copy. The copy, I'll accept all the changes as though it got approved. Because when I accept all the changes, things are gonna get shrunken down, stuff is gonna get deleted. So the page numbers are going to change from what they are now. So I'll have to do it as though it got approved, so I know what the original is. But what's confusing is the marked up copy won't match. The page numbers won't match the marked up copy. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because I have all the red stuff that's going to be deleted, or stuff that's going to be added.
Are you expecting that?
I don't know. Is that free pizza?
So,
Oh, okay. I don't think anybody here ordered it, but who called it?
15 Upper Guinea Road, business name, town office.
Maybe they're gonna meet him here in the parking lot.
833-8298.
Yeah, that's not this phone, so it might be somebody's cell phone. I'm not sure who.
Maybe they're gonna meet you in the parking lot or something.
Maybe you're gonna call him. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
We should order pizza.
Yeah.
So anyways, there'll be a mismatch in the page numbers, which I don't know if that's gonna screw people up, but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the page numbers as much as I'm just having all the listing in there.
yeah, I'll make sure the sections are correct. Like I said,
In the references.
I'll approve all the changes on a copy. That way I know what the correct page numbers will be, and I can put those in that people are voting on. So that way at least it's, but.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it might even be helpful, that way you guys can have a clean version of the one that doesn't have all the line outs and everything else, what the actual ordinance is gonna be, and then you can look through that.
It's gonna be cold when it gets there.
Maybe it'll be free for somebody else.
I wonder if it was for the library. Is the library open?
Yeah, he's heading that direction.
I was gonna say he's going that way.
He's muffled though, doesn't he?
Yeah. Cause some people pay extra money for that sound.
I don't think that he wanted to pay extra for that one, but.
Oh.
Look, Amy. Individual private campsites.
Yeah.
Why not associated with the campground?
That's what I've been holding my breath for. How did you know? That's an interesting date. Naturally occurring ledge and rock outcroppings are not counted as non-vegetated surfaces when calculating lot coverage for lots of record on March 24th, 1990. Why that date? You don't know? Okay. I was just wondering. It's kind of random.
Cause it's tough to replant
I
them.
remember the DEP made that rule
Yeah,
change.
he explained it that night he was here.
Yep.
When that became in effect.
March 24th?
No, he wasn't here March 24th, but
Oh, I'm saying, did he explain
Yeah.
March 24th?
yeah, he explained why it went in, when something went on that was in that pack.
They make it, when they make a law, as of this date going forward, but previous to that, you don't have to worry about it, so.
Continuous existence. Stuff makes my head hurt.
I made it through that checklist. No, I didn't.
I was gonna say.
That's because there was only two. Oh, that checklist.
Yeah, there's a back.
Double-sided.
Of course. Balls, of course it's double-sided. Come on,
Well,
Sam.
I flipped more pages and I'm like, well, there's more changes.
On the land use.
Yeah.
Table,
Yep.
under essential services, 21. You didn't list A,
The yep.
you didn't list A, B, C, and D.
Maybe there was a reason.
So I'll have in.
Maybe because we didn't have them originally.
They were not in the original one.
That's probably one. Did I pick up 17? I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. Damn. I was trying to get the whole thing to fit on one page. Ain't gonna happen now. You don't know how much I play with formatting to make that whole chart fit on one page rather than going over another page.
Well, that was a good try.
So 21. So it's actually it's another. I should do them as separate columns. So 1, 2, 4. Insert rows.
I'll tell you what I'm never doing. Buying a house. Shoreland Zoning.
That's what I said. That is what I said. You couldn't give me
One
one.
thing, it makes you think twice.
Thank you. What about our private campsite, Sarah?
That's fine.
I had to sell the pieces last year because of the settlement of the estate. Boy, am I glad I got rid of it.
You see, they're talking about grass in here. Because I'm seeing it now again. The word grass came up because I remember grass didn't count as vegetation before, and now it does. Now they're including it.
Yep.
So you can have lawn and
Yep.
count that.
You didn't in the past.
I'm gonna ask you. Was that 2 on the red copy? P 15. I've got 1 and 1.
Yeah, 1, 2.
I suppose you could make it more restrictive and require plantings, but I think it's not allowed.
Before I ask everybody, and everybody else says 2.
Storm damage.
You broke it. That's it.
Huge section on storm.
Some of these are formatting things are horrible.
Yes, formatting is
You
terrible.
can't even
It's a
clear
fluid.
that without a permit.
Yeah.
So screw it.
I know, I appreciate a lot of this stuff being spelled out, because when you're wandering in the dark trying to figure out what's what, it's so nice to have it right there documented. Might not like it, but it's there.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't contradict itself 2 pages later,
No.
like our other one did.
Isn't that a nice change?
And we're working off the same document that these people have. So we know what we're talking about.
2AB.
Fine.
That would be a very big plus.
It would, you know, it is. I mean, it's easier for them and a lot easier for us.
Right, what do I got here? 6. Oh, oops.
Ready to go.
Maybe I was sleeping. Did you already speak about this one, Paul?
I might not have.
1 and 1?
No, we haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. You're on the ball. Glad you
Okay.
caught it.
I was say I was just looking at that too.
Yeah, good.
Couldn't
Good.
find number 2.
Actually, I left it in
What I asked you.
They already had it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in here.
Right.
Busy over there.
Yes.
Well, it's probably right in yours, just like it was wrong in mine.
We're skimming through the red.
Where was I? 15. No, originally I asked you about 15P. So 15, then got to the 1 and P.
15P.
Yeah, 15P.
2 1s.
Yeah.
We just don't know that. No.
Yeah, well, I asked him earlier, but then as you get further in,
2, 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, and 5 right before Q.
Right.
He was looking to see if it's that way on his.
Q.
Right before Q.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, ours says 2, 3, 4. So there was
And P.
because there was 2 1s we were missing.
No. Yeah.
A 2. Yeah.
Yours is over.
Yeah, the red one's right.
Is that strange?
Yeah, I wonder why it was printed different.
We'll check make sure.
Which one are you looking at?
15P. There's double 1s, and then further on there's a 2, 3, 4, 5 issue.
But his is alright.
Yeah, his is right.
This was one that was printed from Jen.
It's the formatting, I bet.
Well,
And how
part
it
of is,
transfers.
As far as bullets and stuff like that, yeah. You said 15?
15P.
Huh?
15P.
Clearing and removal of vegetation.
I just wanna make sure I'm correct here.
Yes.
So everybody understood what I did with O, with timber harvesting?
Yes.
Just disappeared.
Well, just, I mean, if it's been
Forked it
repealed,
over the
then why is it there?
Right. And that leads to my next question, which is not that far distant from what she was talking about. Does the P become O? We removed O, so there is no
Well,
O.
no, there is an O, and there's that note for O.
Okay, that it's been repealed.
That's
Okay,
been repealed.
that's good. That's good, fine.
So that's why I kept it there, and because other sections refer to different things, and it just
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
clear.
Yes,
I would not want to take that out.
okay,
I wouldn't recommend taking it out. But you're right. But you're right.
yeah.
No, if we did take it out, it would change
So
everything.
P, you had a question in section P, what?
P and the printed copy had double 1s instead of sections 1 and 2. But on his copy it says 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2, yeah.
Okay.
Mine's 1 and 1.
Yeah. And then on the next page over, do you have,
No.
because this should be 3, 4, and 5, but because the other page is 1 and 1, this originally says 2, 3, and 4, right above Q. So
Right,
this
3,
copy's wrong,
3,
but
4, and 5 above Q, yep.
so ours was wrong, but the other one was right.
Okay, so mine is 1 and 1, so that's 1 and 2. And then above Q,
Yeah. Instead of 2, 3, 4, because you just changed the second 1 to 2, it's 3, 4, 5.
So it's 3, 4, 5.
Because you just changed.
oh yeah.
There you go.
This is where it's gonna be tricky when we go to print it out for the real document to make sure that we have the right format and that everything's coming out exactly as you get it typed.
Right, I mean, what I would do is I'll make a clean without all the 1 lines and everything else. That is what you can do, or you guys can vote on, this is good. Public hearing can be on, this is good. Then you can have a markup of the changes. We'll have the same markup of the changes, because I'm not, I have to keep that so people can see what the changes are, but and that may be what we do, is we provide both as a ballot for people to look at. And maybe so they understand what they're looking at, if they even bother looking at it. I mean, I think when it's explained that this is basically governed by DEP and more or less pseudo mandated by DEP, so.
You're gonna be at the public hearing, right?
Huh?
You're gonna be at the public hearing, right?
I suppose so.
Well, you're gonna be running it, right?
No,
Because-
it's a plain board over here.
Well, but you made the changes and so that makes you the spokesperson.
Pseudo facto part of the planning board, right?
Have you ever heard delegation?
We're all confused.
Yeah.
Can we just put it as recommended by the planning board?
We're all going out for pizza.
O, Q, R,
Back to kindergarten.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D.
T.
You're going back to 16, I'm on 17, what are you talking
No,
about?
you said 16?
16.
Yep.
Administration.
Which is, yep,
B.
B.
Talk to us about the permit fees.
Well, because again, it's for the same reason that, I mean, it's whatever you wanna, I think we should have a number there. So we have it on the town fees, what we know it will be, I think people wanna know what that is. But if you change the fees, and again, planning board, if we're having a lot of shoreline stuff, it's whatever the permit is. So what is it in here for what, $50, whatever?
Well, it's not in ours.
Right.
We have a number, but it's not in the.
So do we want to include it in this ordinance? Because if you change it, then you have to go through everything to change it in the ordinance again,
That's
right?
why I said, no, that's why this says town schedule of fees.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't have a number. Because if that
Is that way
fee
if you
changes, we
change
got to
over
do all
here,
this
then
again.
You have to do all of them, that's right.
Yeah, public hearing and all. Yeah, yuck. No, let's not do
So how are
that.
we gonna do this?
It's on the schedule of fees, and so it's really, I mean, essentially the fees are supposed to be to govern the amount of paperwork and stuff. I don't know what, is it $50 now or $150? What?
$50 is what we were using for.
Right.
For.
But where was
Shoreline
that, where was that
Written.
written?
It's not.
Exactly.
Oh, good lord.
So that's part of the reason for this, is to give that authorization. For the same reason as mass gathering, we were not, I think we were charging something for mass gathering permit, and there's no fee in there. So arguably, we can't charge that fee, because there's nothing that gives us authorization. So this gives us the authorization, so the selectmen should be doing what the planning board thinks it should be.
Okay, so there'll be no document in this ordinance. It will be a separate
No,
document.
the schedule of fees is what we use for all of our, just like building codes. I'd like to get those fees to put on the schedule of fees. Cause actually I need to change those, because when I just changed the building code thing, I didn't change the fees, cause I wanted it to be just third party, to make it simple for people to understand what the changes were. But then in reviewing the fees, it's really not worded well, and it's kind of confusing in how it's worded, and looking at other towns, if you wanna put up a pole barn, you basically get charged the same fee that you get charged to put up a house with everything else. Exactly, and so it's really not fair. And so I need to change that, and I've looked at some other towns, and so, but I could change it in the building, but the thing is that over time, those change, I prefer to just, because right now I can't change it. So somebody says, hey, I can't, where if it's the selectmen, if we realize there's an error, or maybe we should have a new category, because this fee just isn't fair, selectmen can't do that. If it's on a schedule of fees, then we can change it. So if you guys are all of a sudden getting a ton of shoreline zoning stuff, that's causing you to do a lot of time and energy. And maybe the fee is not enough, maybe it should be a little bit more to cover the fees involved. Then we have that flexibility. So, but yeah, that's why. So yeah, but we should have a number. I don't like the people saying, well, then we're just, what's that number?
But wouldn't that be available online? Can't we have a schedule of fees
Yes,
available
and that's what I plan on doing. We do want to have, yes.
Right now it's written nowhere.
We kind of have one out there for whether it be, dog permits, I think is there's different things that we charge fees for. Same thing as what we charge up at the transfer station. There's a schedule of fees for those.
Oh.
What does it cost to put tires in, what does it cost to
TV sets and refrigerators and.
So there are fee schedules. But I don't think we have it on the website, which is one thing I'm trying to do. So,
Everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
I certainly am.
That's the reason I wanted to ask the question, because I want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Yep. That is a change. That's not in the 1,000 manual, but that's something that it does.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely helps us.
Ooh.
You're on 17?
Yeah. Definition.
When everybody else, because as far as definitions, let me know. No rush.
So the
Just
thing
take your
about,
time to get there.
the thing about, before you get to definitions, the thing about administration, that's where this ordinance, where this ordinance is essentially a planning board ordinance. The administration, you should look, because that's how this is administered at the local level. You know, the guidelines only gives you so for example, permits required. Let's see where was I? If I go down to permit application, there's something in here. All applications shall be dated, and the code enforcement officer or planning board, as appropriate, shall note upon each application the date and time of its receipt. Well, do we want it to be those, or do we want it to be the code enforcement officer? In other words, how do we want to direct the flow? Do we want to have everything go through the code enforcement before it gets to you? So it's little things like that on how to administer it that you might want to give this section some more thought. Do you understand my? All right.
Well, I think who on the planning board would be dating that? We only meet once a month, so would that be Jen?
Well, but it might be Jen. So what I'm saying is we want to try to make it consistent and have a
because we couldn't.
Defined,
it doesn't make any sense for us, any of us, to do it.
It could be the chairman. It could give it to the chairman. But I mean, again, if we want to make it consistent, to me, it makes sense to have everything flow through the code enforcement officer.
Who was here consistently?
Because he can make sure that it's complete. He can make sure that they have everything that he needs. Because if it comes here, he may not be aware of it. Again, he's the one who's going to probably tell them, hey, you need a shoreline zoning permit. So
yeah, and it might make it a little easier with some of what we ran into earlier, where we're trying to make these decisions, we don't even have half the information that we needed.
Right.
At least if he says, okay, you need all this before you go in front of the planning board, at least
it's the same thing with the appeals board, really, because when there's an appeal, you can't talk to the appeals board members because they're a quasi-judicial committee. So it's like, hey Judge, I'm gonna be appearing before you next week. Hey, can you answer some questions for me? They can't. They're like the judge. You can't talk to the appeals board. So who do you talk to? Code enforcement officer. What do I need to get together to bring? I mean, that's kind of the code enforcement ends up being, that person, because you can't talk to appeals board members because they're like judges. They're they're judging on an appeal. So, which we're trying to, again, that normally hasn't happened, but we're trying to make sure
Make sure we don't get caught.
You cross those lines, but you really can't. While they may want to help, they can't help. Or you call them, hey, what do you think about, or why do you? It's like, you don't call a judge, do you?
Well, within the same line, D outlines within 35 days of the date of receiving a written application, the planning board or code enforcement officer, as indicated in section 14, which is not the section we were just talking about, it's who handles the application, shall notify the applicant in writing, either that the application is a complete application, or if it's incomplete, what else they need. So that seems to me that kind of addresses what we were just discussing as far as who it comes into. So, like section D, procedure for administering permits, says that within 35 days, whoever receives it shall notify the applicant in writing.
I'm just not sure I feel comfortable having code enforcement stating that, yes, the application's complete and we haven't reviewed it yet. I'm just uneasy.
Me too. And it only stems from the fact that we've been working on a lot of...
Well, that's what I'm thinking too.
things that went
situations.
through code that weren't correct.
Well, so this one, I would say, leave out, well, it depends, the reason why it says both here, because if you go to that chart,
It depends on who it comes into, whose
it
it
depends
is.
on whose
Responsibility.
responsibility, and so
I agree.
you wouldn't leave this one or the other, because if
It's
it's
both.
planning board, it should be planning board that says it's complete.
Right.
If it's code enforcement, it should be code enforcement that says it's complete. But if it's code enforcement, it shouldn't be going to planning board,
Right.
you know.
That's why
So this one, I would leave both like that.
as appropriate.
Yeah.
And Jen is almost always on top of this stuff. I don't think anything
Well, it
really
says
gets-
as indicated in section 14. Section
Yeah.
14 is that chart, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
All you gotta do is go down through the chart.
Yep.
Yep.
No permits to go into code anyway, right?
So the first one, like I said, the first one, which was the application shall be dated in the code or planning as appropriate shall note the date and time of receipt.
So that's just
So
it
that's just-
coming in.
That's just turning
Receiving.
this,
Yeah, right?
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm thinking that it's your decision, but I'm thinking that should just be the code enforcement.
Yeah, and that's just
So-
recording it, right? And then he decides.
Yeah, exactly.
Then by this
And then
chart,
he's gonna
it either
look at
goes
that
to us
chart
or
and
it goes
figure
to
out whether it stays with him
goes
or
to-
he's gotta pass that along to the planning board.
And then we determine.
And then
if
he
it's
wouldn't
complete.
necessarily tell us if it's complete or not. He would determine if
No,
it's
he
his
just-
application or if it's ours. And if
it's
it's ours,
yours,
then
he
it comes
refers
to
it,
us
he's
and
gonna
we've
give
got
it to
35
Jen.
days
Right.
to review and get back to the applicant.
Right.
So he wouldn't be indicating to the applicant
Right.
if it
He's
was
just-
our
He's just
application.
dating
If
that when
it's
it received.
if it's a building, if it's his applicant, then he would review it and
Because the
indicate
thing
to
is
them.
that it's also good for him to know, because if it went straight to the planning board, now he's unaware of a project, and he may have input. So this keeps him in the loop.
Why doesn't he come to our meetings?
Well, that's a good point.
Because sometimes we needed him.
Well, that's a,
We
that's
had, you know what I mean. We ran into some situations.
Well, I think because we had an interim and
well,
then
don't
he
forget,
was
we
new.
had the-
and-
we had which was big bucks, so yeah, I think we can certainly work on getting that to happen. I'm not sure he needs to be at every one, because it's outside of normal working hours, but certainly the ones that you need him, I think that's certainly reasonable.
We could at least put in a request.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's,
He seems very accommodating, I
Yeah.
don't think that'd be a problem.
no, I don't think so either. And he's learning too, so I think probably in a way he'd welcome it. So, but I'm just saying, I mean, I want,
His schedule is wrong online on the website.
is it?
I came in today to see him. He's not here on Monday.
Yeah, he is.
I came in to see him today, and
This
I was
morning?
told he was not here.
He wasn't. He
So
was
his
absent.
schedule. Okay.
His
so,
schedule's correct. He
Okay.
just wasn't here.
Okay.
Special circumstance this
Well, no,
morning.
people can have be off, have a day
I
off.
know. I'm just saying.
You had a house to show.
Me too. Fine.
No, he had something come up, so he was in late today.
Okay. I thought they meant he wasn't here on Monday.
No.
Like ever.
So what's your feelings on C3? Team?
Which one?
I think it should stay with us, but I might have the unpopular opinion.
Well, who decides when the applicant brings in an application? Who decides who gets that?
Well, let's back up a little bit. When the applicant first comes in, the first person they're gonna talk to is Cole. He's gonna determine whether or not it's shoreline.
If they have a project, yeah.
Whether or not it's shoreline. So technically, I'm looking at it from that perspective, he's gonna have a better idea what the general package should look like. So if they bring it back to him, you
He
can
can at
show
least
it,
stamp it
he'll know that
receipt.
it's,
He can acknowledge.
He can acknowledge receipt, but he's not going to be acknowledging whether it's complete or not.
No,
That's still
but-
going to be us.
but he'll be looking at, it's not, well, we just got one just recently, with a name on it with nothing else inside of the package. In which case, you just hand it back to him and say,
Yeah, he can say receipt, but the thing is, he can also do an idiot check, excuse my French, and just say.
Yeah, like a blank one
and
with a
say,
name.
Hey, yeah,
No.
this
ain't
isn't,
gonna fly.
Save yourself
So-
some time here. Yeah.
And he would make sure that it got delivered to the proper
But if they don't know, well, what do you mean by this, or what do you mean by that, or whatever, then he can explain it, cause he's here, he's our full-time employee that's here, so
And he's gonna be the one they speak to when they first
And we
seek
don't
a
have a
permit.
planning department.
that's right, we don't, right.
The only thing that I have a hard time with is that he's gonna say, boom, received. What if that comes in tomorrow? Okay? We don't meet again for 30 days and we have 35 days to respond to him.
Yeah,
No,
but-
it's 35 to say that it's completed, not to respond.
Yeah, that's all we gotta say is it's complete or not. We don't have to rule on it.
Yeah,
So it basically gives you a month to review it to see that it's completed.
exactly.
Yeah.
I would imagine for something like that, if it comes in tomorrow, complete, he stamps it complete, we have 35 days to respond to the applicant
That's
to
not
say.
35 days to respond to
Oh,
give a
complete.
decision.
Yeah.
Received.
Receipt, that's
He's
all,
saying-
all he's
Oh.
doing, all he's
He's
doing
not
is
saying
saying-
it's
5 days to
Yeah, he's just
stamp
saying what day it
receipt.
showed up here, right? That's all he's doing.
Yeah,
He's gonna date stamp it and that's it. And we got 35 days to respond and then
That's what I
schedule a
said.
hearing, right, or whatever we need.
well, whatever you just told me no, so I hushed.
This must
Oh,
be
interesting,
We
this
have,
says,
we have that problem now, if we meet today and somebody brings it into Jen tomorrow, we still got the same.
Same situation.
Okay.
But then,
What she said.
you
What it
know for
says here-
certain that she's gonna make sure it gets to you, and then you're gonna call a workshop if need be. Now we're relying on somebody outside of the board to make sure that we get that information. So if people get busy, things get put on a desk, and things get forgotten. That's just where I'm going with that, because his hours are very limited.
whose hours are limited?
Our code enforcement, he's only here a couple days.
35 hours a week, he's a full-time employee?
Yeah.
I guess he's got enough.
It's not, it's not limited, Jen's 12.
Wow.
I'm just saying, that's my opinion. You asked our opinions, that's mine.
But if it ends up with us, what are we gonna do with it, really?
Well, it goes to Jen, is what I'm
We
saying.
can't do
So then
anything
she
until
goes,
we have a meeting.
then she
Right,
goes
yeah.
to Paul and says, "Hey, look, we have this. What do you want to do with it?" And if he deems it necessary for us to meet earlier, then he asks for us to have a workshop.
Well,
And
it
that's
says here though that
Does she decide whether it goes to codes or planning board?
it's right here.
Well, that's, if it's, she has to
Where
direct
there's
it
a
to
waiting list of
planning board or codes.
applications.
If it comes to how did she
If
end up with it?
if
Did somebody
gets-
direct it to her,
If Jen
or
is the person who
That
receives it,
gives us.
she has
then
to
she's
decide?
the one who's gonna have to figure out whether it goes to code or planning board.
According to the table, section 14.
I'm guessing now when it comes in, I'm guessing now, when it comes in that door,
Oh,
Jen's
okay.
not here.
I
They
think
drop it
I
off
think
with
that's gonna answer the question.
Right,
I think so,
I'm saying
too.
that if your receipt for shoreline zoning permit application, if the receipt is supposed to go to planning board, then it would go to Jen.
And then she would.
She'll mark it receipt, but then she has to notify either, she's gotta make the decision that it's planning board or codes, so then she can then notify the appropriate person.
I'm comfortable with that.
And while I have a lot of confidence in Jen, she's not
That's
a
not her
she's not a
responsibility.
land use person.
I agree, that's
like-
not her
like the code-
responsibility.
Like the code person is.
Why I'm uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, that's not her responsibility to dictate where direct the flow of applications.
Well, plus we get Jen now, but we don't have, well, you can say this kindly, no guarantee that Jen will be filling that position 2 years from now.
That's right.
so what? Can't we just strike planning board then and just go?
Well,
Well, that's what he's saying.
You
Just
can read
for
it
the-
Discussing.
on the procedures and
Yeah.
administering permits though.
You can leave
however,
Just for receipt.
where it says the however.
You
That
can leave
gives
it
us
the way
the
it
extra
is.
time, because
but
it says
just
we got 35 days till we can put
policy
it on
to do
our
it a
agenda.
certain way.
Yeah, to go to code.
That's what I
That's
was
why
saying
we-
earlier,
because I
but
mean-
everybody overrode
because
me,
there's
so
no-
I hushed.
There's no
What was that? I
planning
missed that.
department.
It's the procedure for administering permits. Section C simply says receipt. That
Yeah.
one says you have
Yeah.
35 days of
Right.
receiving
Yeah.
to notify the applicant in writing.
If it's complete.
Yeah.
but, however, if the planning board has a waiting list of applications, a decision on the application shall occur within 35 days after the first available date on the planning board's agenda.
Yeah, so if we
get
get
backed
backed up 12 applications deep and we can only go through so many at a time,
Right,
Okay,
they
there's
don't get, it don't get looked at till the next meeting, and
and that's fine, it's covered under
So you have
this,
35 days to tell them
whether it's complete or not.
it's complete. you have another 35 days
To rule.
from telling them it's complete to rule. And obviously if you're backed up, then you can go even further. So, which is at basically once a month will still fit. So you could still, within that 35 days, you could still fit, say it's complete and maybe do a hearing on it on the first day.
Yep. Because if it is complete, then you can notify them, but you can also have a hearing on it. There's nothing that says that you have to notify them and then wait 35 days to have the hearing.
But back to C3, it says as appropriate. So we can leave it that way, but just make it a policy that they all flow through codes or they flow through planning board. But this way it leaves you that option rather than striking one of those out.
Leaving them both, and it says as
So
appropriate.
it says
It gives us options.
It says as appropriate.
Yep.
So that's the other. The default is just leave it alone and do it as a policy rather than changing the ordinance.
So I have a question. If you bring in an application and Jen's not here and code enforcement isn't in, what? You can't drop that application off. You have to come back and actually meet with code enforcement to submit your application. Do you leave it at the front desk?
No, a lot of times you're gonna leave it at the front desk, and they may bring it to Jenny or whatever. I mean, they're gonna give it to somebody.
Say they have been
Leave it at the front desk, and they may leave it in the code enforcement officer's basket.
And then when he reviews it, he'll stamp it receipt.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, he may be out on an inspection,
Oh yeah.
so that would be he's got a box right outside his door that they should put it in.
Okay.
And again, he should be checking that box frequently for just that kind of stuff.
Leave as is? General consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Now that we went all the way around.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's.
You should still
You can do that.
You should still think about the policy of
I was gonna
where you would like that, how you would like that to be handled. Just
Yeah.
so.
Now, does code work with this document as well as us?
Yeah.
So he needs to look at this as well.
Yes and no. It's a planning board ordinance. The planning board is, I mean,
Our approval is required, even though
yeah,
he
your
must.
approval, you guys are the ones that have to do the public hearing.
Courtesy.
Huh?
Courtesy.
Yeah.
So we're back on definitions. Definition 17. Cross-sectional area.
17, which one is that?
Definition.
They're not numbered.
They're alphabetical.
Oh. A, B, C, D.
Page 48, but your page
It
is
doesn't
might
help
be
me
different.
either.
Yeah.
What's the definition? Which one are we looking at?
Cross-sectional area.
Thank you.
You crossed it
Page
out.
42.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Why?
You get there. I probably have a reason.
I like to keep it.
Just got a little willy-nilly there at the end and decided he didn't like it, took it out.
Well, that's a lot of math.
It's just one of those things, it's like, one of those days you run
You might
across.
need it.
Yeah, you run across and you say like, where am I gonna find that? It's right there.
I was gonna say it's probably been removed from wherever it was noted in this ordinance.
I suspect it has to do with the forestry more than the other, but it's nice to know information.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you find it on your thing?
I just don't know why.
Because it's right here.
Yeah, I have it here. I have it
Oh,
there.
same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is our local one, and this is
DEP.
the DEP one.
Don't know why they
I
apparently
don't
felt
know
that it
why.
was.
I don't know why I did.
Like I said, willy-nilly at the end.
I have no. So yeah, that's fine.
The next one was crossed off
Let
too.
me.
Yeah, I want to reverse that one too. I like to anyways.
The DBH.
So reject, which means it stays there. DBH, the diameter. Sure. I'm okay with that one staying too. I don't care. I think the cross-sectional area and DBH were referenced in the timber harvesting,
They were.
and I think
That's what I said.
that's why they were deleted, because they're no longer applicable.
That's what I
Right.
said.
DBH is also used in the revegetation storm
Is it
damage.
actually referenced in that
It
section?
doesn't say it. It doesn't. It gives you the tree diameter, which is what it's talking
Right.
about, but it doesn't use those letters. My concern was if we pick up another supporting document and it does, we won't know what DBH means.
Or that
But
it's
that's
4.5
supporting- But the
feet.
supporting document, yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean, yeah, but that's, I'm okay, yeah, whatever.
The next one I want to go to is principal structure.
Yeah.
In the 1000 manual, it says a structure other than one, and you got building.
Building other than one.
Okay. That may be a good pickup, because what did ours have? Ours had a building. Our original one had a building. So it says a structure other than one which is used. Okay. A structure. Okay.
Then under principal use,
Yep.
the last word says premises, and 1000 manual uses lot.
More concise.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just,
What does section 1000 say for
So it
principal
says lot, you said?
structure? That's the last one. Does that say premises or lot?
Yeah, because principal structure ends in
Same
premises.
lot, okay.
Hold on just 1 second.
LOT. Okay,
I'm looking for the original.
good pickup. Which one you asked about?
Well, if you change the word premises to lot under principal use, I was asking what
No, I
section.
was under principal structure, right?
No,
no,
he
no.
said principal
Oh,
use,
shit.
but both of them end in that, so that's what she's asking.
Principal structure and principal use are both end in lot.
Yeah, you're right. You just want on the other one too.
Okay.
Good catch, Sarah.
Yeah, I missed that one.
This was like the very end after I went through this whole damn thing, so it's easy to miss a
And when did-
word here.
No, you did really well.
Yeah.
No complaints. No complaints at all.
So I can change those changes. Do you have other definitions?
My goodness.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
This one has to do with two things. This has to do with the term significant river segment. And then Appendix B.
Where's significant river segment?
It's at the top right there.
Oh, okay.
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 There's nothing in the town of Lebanon that is listed in Appendix B. But you realize there is no Appendix A.
So I have that one line, I have that lined out.
Me too.
Yes, you do.
So it says C 38 MRSA section 437
What is that?
is all, it says, because this here says C appendix A or that.
Correct. There's no reference to anything in the town of Lebanon in that appendix, so I don't have a problem with deleting it, but I wanted the feeling of the board before that took place.
Well, if we go back, Appendix B is completely erased, which would make sense if that was crossed out.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And well, nothing in Lebanon is in that listing in the appendix, so it really doesn't need.
So this is significant, this is appendix B, significant segments of identified rustic river.
I don't have any of that.
No. So if this is what we did,
Oh, okay.
so part of the one that the town did had an appendix B,
Mhm.
which had a bunch of different rivers listed.
Yeah.
None of which are in Lebanon.
Mm.
I'm not even sure they're in York County, but anyways.
So we're getting rid of
There's the
appendix.
rustic river, whatever, but again, we don't, so it's basically, it's like talking about the ocean,
Yes.
it doesn't apply to us.
Right.
So,
But if we see it
I
in
don't see any
something,
of
should
them
be
that are
there.
in York County.
If it comes up in something like the DBH or anything.
Well, that's why I said 38 MRSA, 38
Right.
MRSA
Right there, you know where to
437.
go get it, yeah.
Yeah.
the only major river we have in town is Salmon. And I did notice when you did the paragraphs, that you kept Salmon Falls in the description. I
Yep.
appreciate that.
Yep.
So I have no problem with the change as long as everybody's in agreement with that.
I think you're absolutely right. We don't need Appendix B or any reference to it.
Right.
So, it's a done deal.
Which is why I deleted appendix, I think I did, didn't I delete appendix B?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it solves a lot of other problems at the same time you do that. Good time. Hour 30 minutes.
Yeah, you know what though?
It's okay.
I have to take notes.
Whatever, we just
Watching video.
reviewed and discussed. That's it. That's all that really matters.
Yes, discuss.
Watch the video.
Reviewed, changes, and discussed. Did you say watch the video? Oh, watch the video.
Yeah, watch the video.
I was like, we did not watch a video. I would have remembered. If we got to watch a video, well, that happened.
You can put down that he updated the,
I wrote, David made the motion to open the meeting, Amy second, planning board to review the revisions to the Shoreland Zoning Ordinance that Chip worked on. He essentially added chapter 1000 and updated other items. Discussion, video.
he made corrections as we did.
Chip talked too much, no, kidding.
Wow.
Made corrections as we discussed. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
Comprehensive plan meeting.
Oh, we're still working
On
on it.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, we're still working on it. For now.
Anybody else have any questions on this at all? I know it's a lot to digest, but really is not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I think it will be helpful.
I think it's gonna be. It's gonna be big.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the information.
Was
Instead of
Jen
always.
here today?
She called this one.
Did she come in?
Earlier today, I think she did, yeah.
I got what I needed. This is what I came in for today. I just found it in my pile.
That's good.
That's good.
A list of all of our subdivision. For my homework.
So you're making headway on that.
Well, you get tonight.
Is it tomorrow? I don't know on my calendar.
Yeah, we
Okay.
tried to give you some additional eyes looking at this whole. Might have added a few headaches, but
Guys, so I'll make you a nice clean copy and get that out to everybody, and I'll fix the table of contents.
I'd like to put a rev history sheet in there, so list all the changes.
What's that? Oh.
So 5 years from now, we can say, when do we change that?
That would be a good idea. Because we ask ourselves that a lot.
Yeah, we do. When was that changed?
what
Does
were we
that
thinking?
Was that included? Was it supposed to be there, or was it just accidentally omitted?
Well, it's nice because I used it as a guide to go through the whole
I'm being
thing.
serious. Like, we're doing this right now. Was this
The
stuff
only-
accidentally omitted or on purpose? Like,
Well, my only thought is I don't mind the again, it's your decision, Woody, not mine, but I don't mind the thought of having a revision, but all we really did was bring it up to the way it's supposed to be. So, one line saying revising to coincide with chapter 1000. I mean, because that's all the changes, so it's not like we changed.
Right, we didn't change.
I mean,
brought
we
it up
just-
to date.
Because there's, we have, so for example, there was a whole section that was done. Well, it really wasn't done because we have this conditional approval that said it had to be in there. So it really was always in ours, but it was on a separate document that said it had to be there. So we were already, because that was on a conditional approval, it was an order by the DEP.
Yes, but we did a 30% by volume, and now we're doing 30% by footprint.
But that was this conditional approval.
We did volume on. We just did volume on the one we did up there.
on an application. Because we didn't have that 1,000.
Yeah, we just did volume on that. We did all by
We
square
did.
footage.
We did.
Oh, we actually had to make like a decision on what that was because we didn't have an existing structure anymore.
We had footprint and turn on.
Because we had the footprint on the
tax map?
assessor's drawing. We
Yeah.
had the footprint. We had to determine if it was 2 full stories, 1 and a
Right,
half.
well, that's because, so this conditional was done in 2009. So that section that had to be added back in has since been changed. So that's why it changed. Now, actually, I'm not sure, if, quite frankly, whether we applied the right ones, because we applied what that said, but I'm not sure if it really should have been the current version of it. But regardless,
It would be good to have something like this each time it gets revised because we can see on our shoreland zone that it says it's been, amended in 2009 and then 2015. And when things come in, we're like, well, when?
Okay, so does it need to be part of the ordinance, or does somebody here just need to hang on to it?
Well, it's not part of the ordinance, it gets lost.
yeah, no, I would agree. But I don't know about other years, but the revisions are to bring it up to date with DEP changes.
Yes.
And so,
See, we're having the same problem with subdivisions.
Do you wanna specify all those changes that DEP makes?
Only when we roll them into ours. So they might make a change this year, but we might not get it rolled into our requirement for 1 or 2 years.
Right, you see, when they do theirs, we're required to change it, so that's a different.
But we have time to do that. If they make a change today, they don't expect us to hold a special town meeting to update our ordinance right now.
Right, well, it depends on what the change, well, as far as, it depends on what the change is.
Right.
But yeah.
But normally they give us time.
Yep.
So this would just document that, okay, we use this rule for up to 2018, and then we went to this rule, and that stayed in place for however long it is.
I think it would be a good idea somewhere to have a history, just like when you sent me to the MUBEC website.
Yep.
To see, like, I could find all the amendments. I just couldn't find the actual information, but I could see every single change that had occurred. So if we have some way, and when that happened, even if that had to be just updated with the National Building Code standards or whatever, there was some sort of record of when that was amended.
Right, I mean, that's what my thought is, I would think that would fall, the DEP would have an amendment of all their changes for chapter 1000. Or all the changes they've had over the different years.
But we don't have it. You know, if you pull up the 1000, we don't have that.
No, but on their website, they probably have. So that's what I'm saying, because I mean, it's in accordance with them, and they may have more detailed as to why those changes were done, or.
What would be the harm of adding one additional
but
page every 7 years when something gets amended? Because that seems to be
But is it gonna add to the confusion?
I don't know.
Or is it gonna answer questions?
One of the things that struck me when I came and worked here was that there was no rep history sheets for any of the documents that we worked with. And
Well, and again,
the shipyard, everything we did, we logged it and became part of the package. So that you could always go back to see what changed, who changed it, why it changed.
Right, but that's my point though, is you're saying why did it change, and none of that is addressed here.
Yeah, well, that may be something we need to add. Well, did you read the top paragraph?
Well, I mean, but basically most of it's all the whys because the DEP.
Yeah. Well, that's what the top paragraph says.
So
we updated our document to the amended version of, what does it say?
January 26, 2015, and to comply with the State of Maine Department of Environmental Protection, conditional approval.
So we showed that we, up to their latest version that we have available to us, and we incorporated the 2 memos that they were sitting out there. This is why we did it.
I agree. I think it should be in there. Because we've asked ourselves those questions several times.
Well, we have. We've gone through them.
Would that go on the?
I believe you'd have to check with Jen, I believe one of the conditional approvals has previously been complied with. We have a sign off from DEP, so that's gone.
We just got that one for the shoreland mapping.
That's for the map.
I don't think that's on there. I don't think I listed that one.
Well, that's the 2 conditional approvals that are on file. So 4809 and 7409. One of those is the map. I don't know which one.
Okay, 4809 has to do with.
Yes, 7409 is the map.
7809 or 7409 is what you have there, right?
7409 is the map, right?
7409 has to do with. You're right, the map.
And like I said, I actually think that map was on the previous version, at least, of the November 15. The issue is that nobody ever submitted it to the DEP. to tell them we had changed it. So that's why the conditional was still there. But we had actually changed the map. And it's the map that's on our current shoreline zoning. So the people already approved that corrected map.
Okay. I have no problem taking that one out.
So that's fine, I know, I have no issues with this.
So draw a line from my 7419.
Where do you want me to put this?
I would say right after the table of contents.
Oh, let's name it Appendix B.
Well, you do that
No,
too.
appendix A.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. We never had one of those. My bad.
I think appendix A was the map.
Are we getting
I
the
was-
map back?
I was just being funny.
We have the map.
And that's appendix A.
I think so, I'm not positive.
That's not.
So do you want it as an appendix, or do you wanna?
Can we just have a
as
revisions page?
That's why I was thinking at the table of contents, right there.
Right.
That's right.
I agree.
Don't you have to worry about appendixes.
Well, so you have a table of contents, which is little, double I, triple I, IV, and then we could have,
Dude, blank page already.
so we could have revisions, which is just V, just the small, and then it goes into the actual ordinance.
Yep.
Does that
works for me.
that work? Okay.
I like how
I'm-
he worded
I'm,
it revision history. I like how he named it revision history.
Yeah, I can't say page because it's more than one page.
Well, it depends what font you use.
A 37 and 38 for write-ins.
I thought we was gonna have something else to add.
All right,
But you guys are too
That's fine.
fine tonight.
that's fine. You already have this in Word?
Yes, I do, actually.
Could you email it to me?
Sure, yeah.
Save me some typing.
Oh, definitely. I can do that.
Especially all those little numbers, I'll screw all those up.
You can scan this to your computer and
I
then
do that all the
you
time.
can change it to a Word document.
I do that all the time.
Oh. I'm just saying. I had
Well, it's easier if you just send it to me, and since he already has it in Word. Trust me, I do it all the time. Google Docs is great.
I don't have the ability to do that. I have to send stuff to my husband and he does it because I have a Mac.
Oh.
One of the disadvantages.
No, because once you go Mac, you never go back.
Well,
Oh, I like the way you said that.
so long as your husband has Google Docs, she means. Touche.
I can probably figure out how to do it in Pages, but I do have Word. I just, I've actually turned my computer on. And
Really?
It's like on. I don't have to wait for things to spin and load.
Loading the spinning wheel of death.
Then there's an all steel. I mean, borrowing. Did I say steel?
Oh no, you said borrowing totally. I got you, Paul.
If I don't write this down.
How's your notes, Sarah?
Um,
Appendix? Appendix? I'm just asking if you
Discussion.
put the appendix on there.
Video. Should make corrections and how to.
Throw it on top of Jen's desk.
I will.
What's next?
Well, either our rules or the planning board minutes. That's all we have left.
We don't have all the members of our board here to go over the rules.
Oh, that's true. Well, we could discuss and follow up.
Yeah.
They need to be tweaked.
What are you just talking about, the Shoreland Zoning map? This is the approval letter. Anybody wants to read it?
Nope. I trust you. Kinda done reading.
Yes. Oh, we've only started. This is the.
Rules? We're talking
No,
minutes.
this is the facts and conclusions, whatever it's called,
For what?
For what? I don't have that.
for Mr. Furbish.
Oh, that was just a denial.
Right, you can read through and see if that's agreeable. If it is, you can sign the last page. And this one is for the car welders. You read through it, if you agree with it, sign the last page. If you don't agree with it, let me know, we'll make a sticky and make a change. And I don't want you to feel left out, you can go over the minutes, and make any changes to the minutes you so wish.
That's
All the ones already
delegation.
made.
That's
Wow.
delegation right there.
All things that gotta be done. By the way, the last time I left you on Monday night, I got to about 300 feet of my house, and there was fire trucks sitting in front of my house, and I couldn't see what was going on. A long line of traffic.
So you're having a little bit of a heart attack?
I was. But my wife was also out that night, which I didn't know if there'd been an accident in front of my house with her, or if my house was on fire, or what.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and trying to decide whether to walk up, or you just don't know what to do, you know?
I think I probably. What did you do?
Well, actually, I sat there for a few minutes, and then the acting fire truck went by me, which didn't do anything for my heart. And I waited a few more minutes, and then my cell phone rang, and thankfully it was my wife. She was 3 cars up in front of me, and I couldn't see her because there was a trail truck in front of us.
She's thinking the same thing.
Right.
She was. She was. But it turned out that there was a camper fire right in front of my house.
Really?
Which explained why
That was a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see all the lights when I turned onto my road. 'Cause
Yeah.
I lived right, just before where that was.
Right, yeah.
Like, I was trying to see what it was. Couldn't really, could see the fire a little bit once I turned onto my road, but I couldn't tell whether it was a house fire or what it was.
My wife said when she drove up there, you see the smoke coming down the road. And she was like, what's burning? Yeah, I told her, we don't need that kind of excitement tonight. Just a nice, quiet, easy, nice.
Every time I know what's going on, I just go check out the first page.
Because if it's not there, it's not happening.
Well,
That's
I don't
right,
think you-
but you
'cause
know
I don't
what?
think you-
She's
I don't think you're on there to sign it.
she messages me now. She'll be like, "Hey, just came over the scanner."
So you have like a direct line. You don't even need to check her page.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll hear the siren and I'll be like, "Ambulance just drove by the house. What was that?" And she'll be like, "I don't know. I'll find out."
Good Lord. Okay. Paul, their last name is misspelled throughout this entire document.
Is it? Okay.
It just, I don't know.
Okay.
FYI. Capital letters.
Okay.
It's misspelled like a couple of different ways, actually.
Well, that was right. You gotta get it right once in a while.
Depending on
Right?
how he said it at that time
Yeah.
in his head.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that one is,
That's
I
correct.
believe. Yeah. That's what I'm assuming is the correct version. I'm just saying.
CADWALLADER.
First thing on
It's in the
that,
minutes.
as such.
It's
I think
CALLWALLD. There's a whole lot of L's going on there.
I have something to bring up in the minutes. And it has to do with our approval of their trusses, because after talking with Chip, remember you said we can't approve a type of truss? And we never touched base on that to see if we that or not.
Andy and Amy.
I think I mentioned that, just because it's a building code type of a thing. As far as structure materials and stuff.
Amy's still reading.
But, I think that was this
Well, I didn't hear back from them if we need to change that at all.
from me.
Remember?
Was I supposed to get back to you?
Yeah, but then we started talking about other comp plan stuff and then it just forgot.
Well, this
But I'm
pertains
just
to this
reading it
too,
again,
scissor
just
trusses.
reading- Right, cause I'm just reading it again and that's what reminded me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when at the time, that was my thought, is that approving a truss, which is a building part, is the building code's job. I mean, he's the one who issues a building permit.
Well, the way it's worded here, the planning board approved the applicant's request to remove the existing roof structure and replace with scissor trusses not to exceed a total building height of 20 feet.
Right, but in other words, if scissor trusses aren't appropriate for their roof,
Then we shouldn't be
because
approving them.
because that's an engineering function.
I agree.
which is
We need to just hold to our 20-foot rule regardless of what kind of truss they need. That's not on us.
So
Grab
that's,
that red package right there.
that was my thoughts, but again, it's just,
That makes sense to me. Paul's
And
gonna
I
sign
totally
something that says
forgot
we can
about it
approve
until I
trusses.
just read it right here.
You did well. You remember?
I did not remember. I didn't.
just because I mean, again, for example, let's say the code enforcement says, well, no, scissor trusses will not work on this application, you need this kind of a truss. They can come back and say, well, we got approval from the planning board.
Right. And then they have to do
The
something.
problem we're gonna have is that the Shoreland zoning permit application specifically says scissor trusses.
I was gonna say it's noted in here several times as scissor trusses. Specifically.
I think that's because that's the plan they brought to us,
Yeah. No, I agree.
which is why it was worded that way.
Yeah.
And they may plan on using it, which is why they put that down, which, and it may be perfectly fine, the code enforcement is fine with it, but I
I see your point.
didn't see why that the planning board would be approving a building material. Because that's not part of shoreline zoning. There's nothing in shoreline zoning that says you
I was
have to
gonna
have
say
this
it's
type of
all the
truss.
same thing, I think.
Right.
Could we just change that to approved trusses?
I think
Appropriate.
To allow them to do the roof or whatever, I mean, I don't,
approved the applicant's request to remove the existing roof structure
and replace it with.
and replace, but not to exceed. Just take out scissor trusses entirely.
And
like you
replace the roof not to exceed blah, blah, blah.
20 feet.
Yeah.
That's the problem with that.
To do that, we're gonna have to rescind.
Again.
Oh
I
no.
know.
Oh.
No, it's true, I mean, because
Because we voted it in.
we voted in.
So now we need to rescind it and re-vote it.
I'll
Hey, we're getting
rescind
better.
my second.
We're getting better because
I'll
we'll
rescind
only
my
have to
second.
rescind this one once. Unlike the last time we did 3 times, so we're getting better each time. See, next time.
We're
it's
learning.
Steep learning curve.
Unanimous vote, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can do that.
We can't do that?
No, we can.
Oh. I thought you said can't. I'm like, don't say that.
Did you take back your motion?
I did. I took it back. It's official. Took it back. It's on video.
Let the minutes record.
Oh, she's not. So that's why I said it's on video.
Minutes
We
reflect.
gotta rewrite the motion though, so we have it down right this time.
I don't know where that motion would have been. I didn't have. This just says the planning board approved the applicant's request.
Oh, the motion's floating around.
Oh, you have it?
I don't know.
You have their
I have
I
Furbish.
got the facts. in
She's
front
got
of me,
it. He's got it.
So,
Sorry,
what's in the minutes?
The
Nothing?
minutes just says the planning board approved the applicant's request to remove the existing roof structure and replace with scissor trusses not to exceed a total building height of 20 feet.
That's exactly what it says in that. Like 3 different places.
Yeah, it says the application summary there.
Is this everybody? Everybody but Paul.
It says in the summary, which came from there.
You already
Oh,
signed
this
it.
one?
Yeah, that one. You already signed it. It's Furbish.
Somebody made black dots all over.
But I did 3, and then I kept seeing it, and I was like, oh, forget it. I'm just writing on the note.
That one is Furbush.
Are we initialing on minutes yet?
I forgot to initial.
I just started reading it.
It's much easier when you do it right the first time.
That holds true for almost everything in life. I said almost everything.
I signed at the post office today.
Really?
Yeah, I waved, but you were doing something else, and I wasn't gonna beat the horn and be one of those people.
Yeah.
It just sounds funny to
Mailing
say
out my
approve
order.
the applicant's request to remove the existing roof structure and replace with another roof. This doesn't sound right.
And I mean, it's in their application, they described it.
Yeah, I know.
That's the reason that we included it.
Yeah, that's what makes it difficult.
That's why we went there with that. But what if we said to remove their existing roof and increase the height to the maximum of, or
To not
20.
exceed the
To not
maximum,
exceed the
or not
maximum.
exceed the
Are they-
20
Are they
feet.
expanding, is that what they're doing?
They're just going, yeah, up.
They have a very low roof.
They had a 6.5-foot ceiling in the room. They wanted like an
Raise it
8-foot
up.
ceiling.
And make it like a cathedral.
Oh, no, I mean, again, scissors truss is probably the right thing to do, I'm just.
It's not our job to approve which type of truss.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Right. Cause you're really just approving the expansion.
Yeah. We're just giving them more room.
We just approved the expansion of their roof.
The replacing of the roof.
We're not expanding.
Okay, the replacing of the roof.
The planning board approved the applicant's request to remove the existing roof structure and approves the height increase not to exceed a total building height of 20 feet.
So there is a height increase,
Yes,
so
that's all we're
therefore,
doing.
so therefore it is an expansion up. Or is that getting into a fine line?
I don't know.
So to increase the roof expansion not to exceed blah blah, whatever feet that is? Because if they were just replacing the roof,
That was
taking the roof off and putting a new roof on and not going any height, I don't think they would even need a shoreline zoning permit.
that's what I'm thinking.
But they've got to change the structure.
They need a building, they always need a building permit, but
Right.
they don't necessarily need a shoreline zoning if they're just,
Right.
I don't think, maybe I may be wrong. I haven't actually looked to see.
Oh, sure.
They're not disrupting the shoreline, they're not expanding, they're not
Right?
so much.
I think that fell under the expansion.
That's because they're trying to raise it some.
We went
Well,
circles around
They
that.
was trying to add a small mudroom.
Oh yeah, they were trying to.
They wanted to do that, but we couldn't approve the mudroom because it made it too big.
Yep.
But we did.
That would
so
increase
they
the
could-
footprint.
Right.
I was looking at what a scissor truss is. Oh, this is a cathedral ceiling. It's a truss without a parallel
Right,
line to the ceiling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically just doesn't have the cross members.
Oh, so are they actually not expanding their roof line? They're just increasing their ceiling height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way to do that is you have to get rid of all the trusses, so you have to take
Put
the
new
roof
ones
down
on.
and put new
But
scissor.
at
put
the
new
end of the
scissor
day, the height of their roof line isn't going to change.
Well, the pitch could change, which means that,
But the high point of the roof shouldn't.
well,
The
they
peak.
have within that,
The pitch
they have to
changes.
stay that 20. So like I have a 412 pitch, so my house is like this, but my neighbor has a cape, and I think that's like
Oh,
6
yeah.
12, so
Yeah, I have a cape and that, yeah.
Cape, yeah. Be like a 12.
And I honestly don't know if they're
So, but I think that can make your roof
change.
taller because.
Oh yeah, it does, because it goes up 12
I
inches.
don't think
further,
so. That's what
12
I'm
inches
saying.
this way.
Is that the absolute height of
Yeah.
So,
their.
and if that's all that you guys approved,
What would fit
Would
that
it-
20
would
foot
it have been
for them?
behind
Like
the
what
living
pitch
room?
would fit
And you
that?
don't need a shoreline zoning permit?
Yeah, well, that's as long as they stay.
To
Yeah,
do
they-
to do your roof.
As short as their building looked right now, I mean, it looks like they got like 10-foot walls.
Can't remember.
But isn't there a remodel?
I was
You can only use so much.
Depending on how wide the house is. I mean,
Until you have to talk about setback
That's
changes extent.
expansion, that's expansion.
you know, your house is
Yeah, you're
only
probably right.
wide or whatever, you could go as much as.
You can remodel, you can finish your basement, you can do whatever you want inside. So all they're doing is they're remodeling their upstairs.
Yeah.
The problem is that the only way they can do it because of the trusses is to.
Oh, yeah.
Let's bring this
Yeah,
into,
But as long as they could keep it under the 20 feet.
let's bring this into a conclusion.
Okay.
Replace with a higher roof.
The honorable Phil has spoken.
We'll take it.
With a higher ceiling.
With a higher roof. Scissor trusses, take scissor trusses out and put higher roof. Not to exceed a total building height of 20 feet.
Right.
Okay, so we have to rescind, and I don't know who made the motions and all
Well,
that
it
stuff.
said
do we?
that Amy made that motion,
I did.
and I seconded
You
it.
have something different than I do, right?
In the bottom of the meeting.
Minutes.
So I took
That's
back my second. I took back my second, she took back her.
Well, I'm not sure we need to, because you approved the roof change. So,
We don't have to do that if we're just changing the verbiage.
yeah, I don't see where that's a problem.
And I'll initial,
I will do twice if necessary.
if it matters.
Change the roof, there's no road change. Oh, I am gonna change this
If they
over
use
here
the scissor
too.
trusses, they may not even end up having to raise the level of the roof. They can ceiling height by the scissor truss.
Yeah.
By just making the cathedral.
That's what I was saying. That the roof isn't going to be higher, their ceilings will just be.
Yeah, the roof height actually could stay the same and just make it raise the ceilings with the scissor trusses.
See, we think alike, just at opposite ends of the table. Like 3 times tonight.
We'll have the option. Okay. Is that the only, other thing on here is gonna be changes to Caldwell spelling? Everything else okay?
I didn't even like that.
Okay.
Okay, the roof line is going to change. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah, by quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But it still looks like they're only going with maybe a 6 pitch, maybe.
Yeah, no more than.
Yeah, it's no more than a 6.
I'll put that in there.
I knew it was there somewhere.
Not trying to get rid of you, sir, but you're free to go. Unless you wanna stay with us or whatever.
You have keys, walk up.
You got a good question. You're right.
Maybe
Forgot
you know
about
what
that.
he's doing.
Forgot about that.
Otherwise I would have.
Yeah, I never heard about that. We would've worked it out. Help!
But there's something else we had to initial or sign or,
Minutes?
minutes.
Yeah, I just finished reading the minutes
Okay.
and I think they're good. But I wasn't looking for spelling errors.
That's my job.
I was gonna say, that's David's forte.
I left that to our editor. Editor-in-chief.
I don't catch them all, but
The only change I made was higher roof.
Jen's desk.
What's that?
this is just the summary, okay. Little findings.
Anybody else have any other changes on the minutes?
No.
Looks like you did.
Yeah, I did, but I'll wait till everybody else is done.
And did you see where you seconded a motion?
Yeah, I know, I see that. I was trying to avoid that.
That was that last meeting when I was like, the next second's yours.
Take a look at that. We ended the meeting, we passed something, then we turned on into the meeting again. How do we do that? We never opened it again.
2 different times. Interesting.
Yeah, we did the 8:30 before we did the 8:20.
I know. It's like a time travel situation there.
It's this clock behind it.
How'd that happen?
It's this clock.
Yeah, right?
I just eliminated the last one.
You would have had to eliminate the first one.
Why?
Because we can't have
Because
approved
we can't
minutes after we.
adjourn and then approve
He's being
minutes.
funny. Took me a minute too. I was like, what?
I'm tired tonight.
The way you want to do it, it's fine. To develop instead of 4.
I said that?
You and I.
No, I said to develop.
Oh.
Actually, I think all I said was we need some order around here.
Okay, we'll think on this one. Request for constructing 3 decks.
Mm-hmm.
Could not be approved due to these items.
The request for constructing 3 decks on an existing building has been denied. So
We haven't denied it yet because we denied it down here. That's why I don't want that up here. You can't deny something you haven't denied yet.
So the request for constructing 3 decks on an existing building.
I'm fried. I'm really tired. Okay, hold on. The request for constructing 3 decks
Existing building.
could not be approved due to the following.
Not be approved.
There you go.
Okay. Got it.
Just didn't spell 2 different ways too. I
Mm-hmm.
just noticed. In the present and then. Come on, Sarah.
I'm tired. I think I'm just sick of reading. That's what it is.
Go one more read.
4 people who can't spell their first name or their last name. Yikes.
The only thing left is the,
Developing rules.
planning board rules.
I haven't even
homework.
read the findings and facts yet.
Good gracious, Sarah. Get it together. My goodness. November of '89.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had it together. 20 years ago.
There's a lot of this that can be eliminated, which is what I want to do. But a lot of it's,
Not applicable.
yeah, a lot of it is applicable to what we got. So take out what we don't need and just keep what we got.
There's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yes. So their sidewalks are open to interested public.
It's supposed to be. So we have to advertise it as a public meeting. Anybody can go to the site.
It's interesting.
I just made 2 changes on that review, and that was changing scissor trusses to higher roof. Somebody made 1 change, but then they missed 2 others, so I just made that change.
Yeah, good.
Supposed to note it on the post-it note.
Huh?
Nothing, I'm being difficult.
I'll note it on your post-it.
Paul gave me the post-it.
There you go.
Okay, so you made all the changes on the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can give that back to Jen to correct, and we'll see it next time we come back.
You want to fix Kristen's name at the very top there, Jason and Kristen Cadwallader? At the top of the minutes. The bold Jason and Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be a K, not the CH. Because others present, it's listed as a K, which is how she wrote it.
Oh, okay. Good catch.
That was actually Andy's catch, I think. Number 9 yet?
Number 9, I haven't got that.
Oh, wait till you see number 9. Sarah'd like number 9.
Ooh, I like that.
What is it?
Written notice of such meeting shall be served in person or left at the residence of each member. I'll be seeing you, Paul.
It kind of sounds like their planning board isn't the friendliest group. Wait till you get a little further.
No, they're the people you hide from. You don't answer your door.
I know. It's like Do they even go to their meetings?
Did you read that last sentence? In accordance with state law, the press shall be notified of any special meetings in the same manner as the board member.
So in person.
In person.
At residence.
Or at their residence.
You think they follow that? That they inform all the press in Gorham? In person or at their residence? I'm thinking they don't.
Weird.
It's really weird. Well, 89. I'm not even sure everybody had telephones back then.
No.
Right? Can.
We have a quorum of 3 members, so underneath special, it'll only take 3 members to hold a special meeting.
I have a question. Further up than that. Under A, regular, the board shall meet regularly on the first Monday of each month, blah, 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 blah. In which case, the meeting will be held the next following Monday. Could we pick one of those words? The next Monday or the following Monday? I mean, the next following Monday just seems a tad bit redundant.
Right.
So how you want to do?
Oh, I don't
Not
care.
there yet.
Eeny,
Which one are you on?
A, regular.
Okay, hold on.
First page.
Yeah.
Section 2.
It's kind of redundant. Is that the
Yes.
word?
Following
Unless
Monday?
it falls on a holiday, in which case the meeting will be held the next following Monday.
Pick one. Like, I don't care which one. Just both seems weird.
Following?
The following? Okay, good. Next is gone. The meeting shall be held in the council chambers.
Southern Town Hall. I guess we call this the town hall. We call it the town hall?
The meeting shall be held
Is this the conference
at
room?
the town hall.
What is this?
Town hall, town office, I don't know.
Town office.
I
Well, no, because I'm thinking up there is a
I
town hall.
say them both.
Yeah, don't get my wife wound up. Don't call this the town hall.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Love the town office.
Because what, the one up the street's the town hall?
That's the town hall.
Will always be the town hall.
Yeah. Good Lord. I guess I wasn't born in Lebanon, so I don't know the difference.
Forever and ever.
So on special meetings, do we want to change that so you don't have to hand deliver us some
Yes.
love letters?
Yes.
Aw. Come on.
Special meetings may be
Super
called by the
majority.
chairman
Or when
or
we're,
when requested to do so. Should we change that to 3 members
Yeah,
instead of
that's what he
4?
said.
Yeah.
3 members.
of the board.
Or by municipal officers. We don't care what shit goes.
So we're going to get rid of or by municipal officers. Just drew a line right through your check. Sarah started it.
Written notice of such meeting shall be sent via email.
I know who the source is.
Or phone call.
No, you're right.
How about
Email.
notice? Notice of such meeting. Instead of written. Notice of such meeting shall be served to each member of the board.
I don't.
Through email.
Written notice of such meeting shall be held.
You can call me. I'm
Via
good.
Well, see,
email.
we do everything by email, so I'd be best to leave it that way.
Written notice of such meeting shall be sent
Email.
via email. At least 72 hours before the time of the
Horses.
holding, unless members of the board sign a waiver of said. What the heck is that?
Shall be sent by email.
Scratch the rest of that.
The whole thing, except at least 72 hours before the time of the meeting.
Yes.
You want to keep that or get rid of
At
it?
least 72 hours before the time for the holding of said meeting, then period.
Unless all members sign a waiver. Yeah, we don't have that. Do we want to say the call for said special meeting shall set forth the matters to be acted upon at said meeting and nothing else shall be considered? Or are we getting rid of all that?
In other words, a special meeting is just for one
That's all we're
item
talking
of business.
about.
Yeah.
But do we have to word it that way? No other discussion
Well,
will
so
take
they don't
place?
call a special meeting for this applicant and then we start talking about everything
That's what I'm
else.
saying, so, but I
Yeah.
don't like the way they word it, cause
No.
it's so wordy.
I don't know, I kinda like it at the,
You killing your
Special
smalls.
meeting will be only to discuss what's on the agenda for the special meeting.
This was probably written by a lawyer, huh?
I kinda can't even with you right now. Written in it. Wait, where did we end the other one? 72 hours
Before the time
before the time?
for holding said meeting period.
42.
I know.
The
I
holding
don't like
said.
How about just 72 hours before?
Before the
The
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Before the meeting. Look, ta-da. Before the
We're getting rid
meeting.
of number 11, I know that.
Did you read number 9? I can't remember what 11 is.
Read number 11.
we'll get there. Okay, so the call for said meeting
After
shall.
10 p.m. Bless.
Brother. How you wanna put that one?
The only items to be discussed during special meetings is what's on the agenda.
Special meetings shall be limited to agenda.
And then,
Special
Go on.
meeting
Shall be.
shall be limited to agenda items, the agenda, whatever you want
yeah, the agenda.
Okay, look this up, that whole other. Sounds good to me? Workshop.
What about the press?
Oh, I took that out.
All of it?
Yep.
But why does it say in
Says
accordance with
Accordance
state
with
law?
state law.
Yeah, we have to do that.
The press
Well-
shall be notified of any special meetings, period.
Didn't say man as board members,
No, not
No,
as the same
okay.
member.
should we notify special meetings?
Period.
That's fine.
Are we leaving in accordance with state law?
Yeah.
So everybody knows that we're law-abiding board members?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. It's a little
What
ridiculous.
it usually is a phone call and they tell them, we're not coming to that. Thank you. Okay, so that goes with, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that first sentence. On workshops weird too.
Well, they're held regularly, which we don't do. Informal workshop meetings shall be held regularly immediately prior to the regular meeting, so we don't do
Shall
that.
be held when necessary,
As deemed necessary.
and we don't do it immediately prior to
No.
regular meetings.
No, but do you understand what they do, what they have the workshop for? Read the whole thing first. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, discuss business which may appear on the agenda.
It's the same reason we hold workshops.
Well, they have their workshops prior to the regular meeting, so they can determine if the paperwork is all complete before it goes before the board. They have a smaller group working from the planning board that reviews all the paperwork, make sure it's all done. Then it comes to the board. It's kind of neat. I mean, we're not to that point to be able to do that, but it's interesting that they do that. I don't know how big their planning board is.
They like each other a lot, I can tell you right now, by these rules. So what are we going to do with workshops?
How about informal workshop meetings will be held when needed at a date and time specified. Notice to members will be.
It looks to me that it looks a lot like
same as a
special meetings.
meeting.
Yeah, it looks just like a special meeting. Can we just say special meetings and workshops? Maybe called
no,
by the
because
chairman?
you vote on a special meeting
Right.
and you don't vote on a workshop.
Very good.
the wording is really similar though.
So, your wording was good.
Informal workshop meetings shall be held when needed at a date decided upon by the chair.
No, by the board.
By the board. To be held when needed. On a date.
Period.
Such meeting shall be held at the same location at which the planning board meeting is held. Okay? The purpose of this type of meeting is to discuss business which may appear on the agenda of an immediate or future regular meeting of
Do
the
we have to
board.
state the purpose of our workshop?
That is the reason that we have them though, to continue discussion
Yes,
when we don't have enough time.
correct.
Continue, because this says future.
Yeah, we don't need that one.
They do it before, we do it after.
Correct.
They are discussing it before their meeting.
I already got rid of that sentence. That sentence was replaced with when needed on a date decided by the planning board. And I got rid of that whole, like that
Purpose.
whole held regularly immediately prior to the regular meeting and may be called a special meeting from time to time.
Yeah.
I got rid of all that.
So are we outlining the purpose?
Such
Because
meetings
now I'm
shall be held.
confused.
Hold on, me too. Okay, informal workshop meetings shall be held
When needed.
when needed on a date decided
by the board. Period.
Period. Now I crossed out regularly, immediately, blah blah blah, all the way to the words time to time.
Oh, I crossed it out all the way to the period.
Okay. And then such
meetings.
meetings shall be held at the same location as which the planning board meeting is held.
Fine.
The purpose of this type of meeting is to discuss business which may appear on the agenda of an immediate or future regular meeting of the planning board. And I don't know if that should be period and get rid of to discuss matters of board administration or procedure.
But that's what he and I were just saying, is that says, which may appear on the agenda of an immediate or future regular, is how they do it. Our workshops are held after the fact. We don't have a workshop before the meeting.
Right.
So the purpose of this type of meeting is to discuss, or is to continue to discuss business.
Business.
To continue the discussion of agenda business. I don't know, but we don't do it ahead of time.
Well, yes, and we do. If we don't finish something, we go to a workshop and we hash it out like this, we're doing this document, then we'd have to go to the next meeting in order to vote it in.
Yeah, but we're not holding the workshop prior to the meeting for a discussion, which is what they do. They go in and prior discuss
Right.
it.
See, and I'm
I mean-
reading that immediate as something different, I think.
The purpose of this type of meeting is to discuss business which may appear on the agenda of an immediate or future regular meeting. I'm reading that immediate as their workshop is held immediately before their meeting.
Right, and I'm reading it as that's something that we're currently working on or what we're gonna work on in the future. I don't know.
I don't know that it matters terribly. I mean, we are the ones upholding and enforcing this, right? Nobody's going to show up and be like, blah, 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 blah. You're not supposed to do that before or in the workshop. You're supposed to do it after.
What if we did decide to have a workshop before a meeting, though? What if that's the only time that worked for all of us? Then that
Why would
makes
you do that?
sense.
Why would you do that?
We wouldn't do that because we come to a meeting to discuss and then we follow up with a workshop.
Are workshops public? Yes.
Yes.
Paul, I don't know why we would do that.
Well,
I don't really know why we do half the stuff we do.
Well, no, if you guys have a workshop, you would just set up a regular meeting.
Okay, so you want to get rid of immediate?
But if you have a public hearing, you might want to do a workshop before your public hearing, just to make sure everybody was on the same page.
We did have a workshop before the last public hearing.
A workshop or a meeting? Because we can't vote in a workshop.
I thought it was a workshop, but it might have been a meeting. Before the
I
public
thought we had
hearings.
the public hearing, then we had the meeting actually, but
No,
that's
actually, that's what we did do.
That is
What I
that is
remember.
what we did do.
The public hearing was part of the regular meetings that Monday night.
alright, the purpose of this type of meeting is to discuss business.
That's what I said. Just leave it
We
alone.
have to discuss stuff.
I would keep that one very simple.
Business.
Yeah. Simple, general.
And then after business, cross it out to the period?
All the way through board administration and procedures.
Yeah, to the period, yeah. And then all workshop meetings shall be open to the public, which
Yeah.
they have to be.
Well, we beat that dead horse.
Do we want to encourage sidewalks? Second sentence in that.
Sidewalks are encouraged for all applications.
The vice chair is responsible for minutes for
I
sidewalks.
saw that.
Yeah.
Editor in chief down there, that's all you.
Actually, let's leave that in there. Doesn't say you have to take it.
That's right, I'm responsible.
To make sure Jen gets it done.
Yes,
Boy.
But if she's not there, then,
right, then it will fall upon me.
yeah, just to make sure that's done.
My lord. I want the record to show that I was not in agreement or compliance with any of that.
I think that all sounds good.
How about the encouraged part?
The what?
Encouraged.
I think it's part of almost every application though. The site walk.
A site walk?
Yeah.
Then why have we only gone on?
Well, we've gone on more than that.
I have not.
You weren't here with us. Yet.
But we were just talking. How many months have I been here, Andy?
Quite a while.
Yeah, see, last
How
meeting.
many?
I don't know. I try to block it.
So
All right, fine. Encourage
I
it.
think the only time that we decided that we were not doing a site walk was when we determined that the application wouldn't pass anyway. Like it wouldn't be approved anyway.
Because we haven't been to Cadwallader and we haven't been to Furbush.
Right, because we already had determined that Furbush was not gonna fly. We didn't have to see it. We could look at the map and say they're 18 feet from the water, 35 feet from the water, whatever. It wasn't necessary.
Okay.
And then the same thing with Cadwallader when we
Which
said
Okay.
they were only 18 feet. It wasn't necessary because we couldn't approve it anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Good answer.
He likes it.
Is that what we had said?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We could have gone. All it would take is a request. I didn't see the need at the time.
Sidewalks are encouraged. So who encourages them? Us or the applicants? I mean,
it's
is it?
in a subdivision, it's actually part of the subdivision application.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just asking. We're going to leave that in, and that's fine. But my question to you is: sidewalks are encouraged for all applications before the board. So we are encouraged to do it, or the applicants are encouraged to request that we do it. Who's being encouraged? I guess is my question.
I follow.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. Me either. That's another reason I wanted to take it out.
Take the sentence out.
That was it. That's all it took.
I'm with you.
That was because I was unsure who was encouraging who to do it. That was why.
I'm with you.
Because if we deem it not necessary, and this says that the applicants can encourage us to do, do we then have to do it, even though we know it's not going to fly?
Public hearing shall be held as
Yep.
required. Public hearing shall be held as required.
Hearing shall be held.
Forget the rest. Banana.
How about notice?
Just change it to Clark, right?
Thought we had rules when we had to notices of meetings. I thought we already had rules in place.
Yep, we do. Yep, we do.
So notice of meeting shall be in compliance with current rules.
Yep, sounds good. Did you get that one?
Compliance of current rules.
Yep.
Quorum.
Quorum shall consist of three.
3, yep.
So
How
do we
about
just end
ad
the
hoc?
business?
Yep. Only
Okay.
business. Wow, she'll take the chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have
We're
to.
gonna get a chair.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring you in a fancy chair.
We're gonna have to start sitting at the head.
Yeah, with the rolly chair.
Do you want me to actually call the roll?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Come on, okay. How about identify those absent?
Do we need to do that?
I don't think
Members to
so.
order, identify the members of that, okay.
Call the members to order, cause the roll. We don't have to do, well, you kind of already do that.
In his head,
No,
yeah.
but he does because he's like, he'll always mention to Jen, did you get everybody signed in? Did you do it?
Okay, so we'll leave it as is then. Form of information.
Oh, so they
They do the minutes
first, yeah, of the prior, which may not be a bad idea.
We always do them last because then we shove them off and shove them
I
off.
was gonna say, that way that we're not approving 6 months worth of minutes
I
first.
noticed our select board does their minutes first.
Since they want 12
Let's stay with-
copies of everything.
Let's do them first.
Let's do them first. Yeah, I think so.
Because then we get bombarded
Mhm.
sometimes.
Copies of minutes will be available prior to the meeting. Jen does send them out email, so that's already been done.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, I don't think
What? We need some Paul Philbert Rules of Order is what we need.
What is that?
I don't have any idea.
That's a standard by which many meetings.
How the annual town meeting, you gotta address certain people, and you have to raise your hand to be recognized and all this stuff, yeah.
I thought they were pulling our chain. They're serious. It's like a real thing.
Yeah, it is. Some state legislators run
yeah,
too,
yeah,
and everything's
yeah.
run that way.
Robert's Rules?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who's Robert and why does he get to make the rules?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
We actually kind of talked about that. That was something that we brought up.
Which is why
Yeah.
we're here. I didn't know there was a
I didn't know
guideline.
there was a name to it.
Me either.
Or we could have made that real easy.
Yeah. Let's just follow Robert's rules.
Well, what if we don't like all of Robert's rules?
That's why we're editing this.
Use the ones we like.
And get rid of the ones we don't.
So maybe we
Just
need
kind
a
of
copy
ignore
of
them.
this we can look.
It's probably 25 pages long.
Or more. Probably a real book.
I'm not reading that.
You asked for it, you may get it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just edit this and move on. In cases of procedural uncertainty, all questions shall be resolved by the chair in a manner that most affords all members of the public a fair opportunity to be heard.
Sounds reasonable.
I agree. Nobody else has said anything, though. All decisions of the chairman are subject to a majority vote of the board.
All decisions of the chairman are final.
I was gonna say, how is a decision of the chairman if it's all subject to a majority vote? Anyway,
It's
like the
leaving it the way it is.
the illusion of power. Are we getting rid of the first part?
Probably not.
Robert's rules?
I don't know if we can if we want to use parts of it. Because some of that included what you and I had discussed. That we wanted. We wanted order.
All right, let's leave it.
Let's leave it for now.
That's
I'm putting a star by it.
Robert's rules. You need to find out what Robert's rules are.
Check out Robert's rules on the internet. And be prepared to go to sleep.
Without debate. It's my favorite part of number 3.
I like that.
Which one?
Number 3.
I
And
like it as written.
Everybody's written? That's right.
in its entirety. I agree.
Yep.
I like the next one. I don't want to talk about the question. I'm going to adjourn.
I was thinking, I don't understand that. Why would adjourn be the first option?
It's one way to end the meeting so you don't settle the issue. We don't have to live with it. But these are the options you have, so.
Postpone indefinitely. How about G? Some of this language. To postpone to a day certain.
Yeah. You can't just say, we'll take care of it later.
Well, it's not even to a certain day. To a day certain.
Well, that's what they're That's what they're talking about. Rather than saying,
We'll get to it later.
they want you to say, we're gonna take care of this, we're gonna meet again next week.
Wouldn't postpone to a day certain, or wouldn't that be lay on the table?
No, that's different. To a day certain, you're naming a definite time that you're gonna take this up again. Just put it on the table. You don't have to take it off the table.
Why don't we just table everything when we can't come to an agreement? It's like we do our minute.
Because number 5 says, and the motion to lay on the table or to take from the table shall be decided without debate. Again, without debate. I'm going to make you a shirt, Paul. It's going to say without debate. I am right, without debate.
4, keep it as is or change?
I don't really like that. I think that's stupid. We're in a debate about something, and you're like, nope, we're adjourning. We're done. That doesn't make any sense. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Like I said, I don't think this board likes each other very much. This is like some really hostile environment that these rules are laid down for.
What if your meeting's not done yet? What if you still have
Meeting done, you adjourn.
I was going to say, when the chair says, I'm done, you're done. That's Robert rule number 1. When the chair says adjourn, you're done.
What if you have
I heard adjourn.
3 more items on the agenda that
Time,
night?
half time.
This is a motion.
Yeah, but that's
Motion. If someone makes a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
And we're leaving.
You're not on the law.
I'm not chair at this moment.
Your next question is number 11.
Okay, cool.
So.
Well, that's
Oh yeah, you love number 11.
You don't need to ask it because it's already answered.
Yeah.
The lateness rule. It's already addressed. You can't take up an agenda item after a certain time unless Chip says it's okay.
Can we come back to number 4 at
Yes,
a
we may.
later date? Can we put that on the table?
Can we postpone it all indefinitely?
Yeah.
Or no, to a certain date, actually, next meeting.
We'll
We'll put it as we'll come back to it.
Day certain, next meeting. No, seriously, guys.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Supposed to go to work early.
Some of us don't stop working.
Do
you see this?
I know that feeling.
Yeah. There you go. That's just while we were in this meeting. Okay?
Because she encourages it.
Want to call it quits for tonight?
Yeah.
We'll come
We
back
can come
to
back to it.
We'll come back to this.
But this will be good homework for us
Yes.
to watch.
I'm not going to read this until the next meeting. I'm going to be
come on.
I thought you were investigating Robert's rules.
Well, I
Rule.
will at another date.
Oh, later date. Not a date certain, though?
Adjourn.
That was good.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
What time is it?
I don't know. It's 8:52.
Is this the one and only? Adjournment?
Wow.
Only one adjournment this time. Let's just
Okay.
do it.
Pretty close.
Let's make it simple.
All in favor?
Streamline this motion.
Aye, aye.